Welcome to Mind Over Matter. In today's hyper-connected world, unplugging might just be new superpower. Our guest, Colin Corby, a TEDx speaker, digital detox and mindset coach, and creator of the Digital Detox Coach, brings decades of tech and leadership experience paired with the discipline of an athlete. Together, we'll explore how to build focus, balance, and humanity in the age of endless screens. Welcome to the show, Colin. It's such an honor to have you.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So, Colin, you have lived on both sides, deep in tech world and now leading the charge on digital detox. So, what was your breaking point that made you question your relationship with technology?
I was, it's quite a long story, but I was so excited about working in technology, a lot of world-first technologies. But I didn't pay attention to myself or my body. And so in my mid-30s, I suffered from some stress and I started to pass out of work. After lots of tests, it seems that the only thing I could control would be to exercise my heart more, which is exercise basically. So I took up swimming. I was rubbish at the start. I practiced, I learned all the strokes, and then I started racing. And this whole process of getting fit introduced me to this whole idea of how you think can have a dramatic effect, not only on what you're able to do, but also how you're able to cope with stress and resilience and those sorts of things. And so I ended up doing 4 Ironman triathlons, which are the silly ones. And last year I swam Lake Windermere in the UK, which is 11 miles. So I'd maintained that balance between work and the stress of doing exciting work with what I need as a biological human. But I think like a lot of people in around about 2010, 2015, I started spending too long on my laptop and my smartphone. And I started to struggle to find the time to exercise, which was the very thing that was able to keep me healthy, that balance. And so I thought, this is interesting. I wonder what's going on. So I did a lot of research into behavioral psychology, which is what all of the great tech companies do, in order to keep us fixed on our phones and keep us dependent on them. And I thought, well, okay, this is really interesting. And so in 2018, I created the Digital Detox Coach because I had the opportunity of, I love technology, I love psychology and what you can do with your mindset. And I also want to, it's my mission to help people get that balance between what we must do with technology to live in this world and what we must do for ourselves, but also to look ahead, particularly with AI, and say, well, okay, what is going to be the role of humans and how can we maintain the essence of what we're good at so that we're not made redundant in the long term by artificial intelligence doing all of the transactional work? What is it creatively that we can do ourselves? And should we be investing in that now? So it's all of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. But did that realization come suddenly or was it a gradual awakening?
I think it was very gradual because my first priority was to get my balance between what I needed as a biological human and what I needed to do for my work. Because I had a young family, I had mortgages to pay for, and that was the essential balance I had to reach first. And within 6 months, I'd created lots of resilience in the body. The heart rate could go up and down and do anything it wanted. There's no problems with stress at all. And I continued in technology for many years afterwards. But the realization of the balance going out of kilter, particularly for me, but probably at the same time for lots of other people as well, was much later. And then it was, oh, this is interesting. I wonder what's going on because I had created balance and now I was losing it. So I was really interested in what changes in my mindset, what was happening and why was it so easy for me to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that's so relatable. Most of us don't notice how wired we become until silence feels strange.
Yes, that's true. We, as humans, we don't notice small changes um, until we look back and think, I didn't see all of that change coming. I didn't realize that I'm no longer very fit anymore. I didn't realize I don't do these things anymore. So we don't notice gradual changes. And we also, everything to do with technology is easy. Technology is there to make it easy for us. It's always been the cause of technology to make life easier for us. And so we're a bit prone to taking the easy option. And if something's easy, well, yeah, we'll just do that. Whereas in the real world, and if we want to have skills ourselves, it just takes a lot of hard work, which is why I use this analogy with the digital detox athlete, because I want to set the expectation that if you want to achieve anything in life, then it's going to take time and effort, and it's not going to happen quickly. So it's much better to set that idea right from the start so that you don't get disappointed. If you don't see a change in a day or a week or a month, you don't get disappointed because it's part of the process. You can't run a marathon on day one. You have to train quite a long time for it. So that's why I have introduced this idea of being a business athlete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And also, you talk about the mindset of a business athlete. What does that mean, and how does it relate to digital well being?
So I found when I started doing workshops in the early days that effectively I was saying, look after yourself. You know, you've got a biological body, it has certain needs for sleep, nutrition, exercise, and all those other good things. But the message really wasn't homing in on the leaders, particularly because they felt that self-care was somehow a little bit soft, a little bit weak. And the culture is, well, I'm a successful business person. I can work all the hours. I don't need any sleep at all. I'm always rushing around, which of course is wrong, but that's the culture. So I thought, well, how do I change this idea? Well, I think we all know what an athlete has to do. I know in India you have a wonderful javelin athlete who's in the Olympics and the Diamond League and all of those other things. And he has to train, most days, but he has to get sleep, he has to have the right food, he has to all these things. So we all sort of instinctively know what an athlete has to do. And then I say, well, okay, so when we go to work, do we just want to, show up? Do we want to do an average job? Or do we want to do the best job we can? Do we want to solve bigger problems? Do we want to be more successful? Well, if you do, then you really need the mindset of a business athlete, because if you've got a big presentation coming out the next day, you really ought to get a good night's sleep, because otherwise that presentation isn't going to be so good. And the same is true for problem solving. Same is true for teamwork. So if you've got something you really must achieve and you want to do your best, you've then got to say, well, how am I going to do this? And what is it I need to do? I need to have some food. I need to make sure that I'm healthy. I need to make sure that I have enough sleep. And so an athlete isn't a weakness. Being a business athlete isn't being weak. It's actually being much stronger. So I reversed the idea of it being self-care being a weakness to business athletes. It's an absolute strength. And if you want to do your best, then you really have to decide to show up. And show up means being an athlete and looking after yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So, how can busy professionals begin training their mind like athletes do their bodies?
So that it's a gradual process. So I've used the analogy with running a marathon. So on day one, if we haven't done any running before, we won't be able to run very fast. So what we're looking at is many, many small steps and just building on those steps. So if we take the marathon analogy, it may be that within the first month, I might be able to run a few kilometers, but I might have to walk some of the way. And then perhaps in 6 months, I might be able to run slowly 10 kilometers. But if I follow the process and the program, I will eventually be able to run a marathon. If I'm healthy and there are no other issues associated with my body, then I'll be able to run a marathon, because so many people do. So it's a gradual process. So it's the mindset part comes into it as well, is that if we spend all our time online, we get into this sort of follower mindset where, we listen to the news. There's nothing we can do about all the news because it's all bad news. Or there's lots of entertainment, or someone has a better life than us, but there's nothing we can do about it. So the mindset part of it is actually, you should control the things that you can control. There are lots of things that we can control, and all of our circumstances might be different, but there's always something we can control. So we can take small steps. And if we wanted to take a small step, then we might decide to take breaks, every 10 to 15 minute breaks several times a day, so that we can recover our focus and attention. We might decide to have better boundaries between when we start work and we finish work, if that's possible with the companies that we work for. We might decide not to have our smartphones anywhere near our beds at night, so that we can get a good night's sleep. So all of these things are very, very small steps. If we don't want to be distracted by our phones, then we can decide to get up and move to another room where there isn't any phones or distraction, and pick up a book. So we've got the power to stand up, we've got the power to move to a different environment. So the mindset part is, think about the things you can control, and you can control lots and lots of small steps. Now, we have to say that habits take a long while to go from conscious thinking about it to the unconscious. Maybe there was some work done by Professor Wendy Wood, and her research suggested 66 days. More complex habits, longer, much longer. Less complex, a little bit shorter. But 66 days is a long while. So we shouldn't expect instant success. We should just trust the process of where we want to go. The other thing about mindset, and athletes use this all the time, is you visualize the journey, you visualize the finish line. So when I did the Ironman triathlons, it's a swim, a very long cycle, and then a run. The run is a marathon. And so when I was on the cycle and at the start of the run, I could visualize the finish line. I could visualize crossing the finish line. I could visualize how I might feel, who would be there, what it would sound like. So we should visualize who we want to be once we've been successful with creating this balance between our online and offline worlds, and visualize what it will feel like to have this control. And the wonderful thing about visualization is it creates a memory, because its imagination is the same as other memories. And then it feels part of us. So that helps us motivate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a strong analogy. Like, discipline and recovery aren't opposites, they're partners in performance.
Yes, and I use lots of what I call digital detox challenges to enable people to make those small steps in going from where they are now, get people to visualize where they would like to be, and then create those small steps, or give them the options for lots and lots of small steps that they can easily do. There's a lovely small step that I always say to people. You can take a break from the online world, and bear in mind the online world is mostly visual. It's bombarded with lots of visual stimulations of apps, notifications, visual notifications. But we have the control to close our eyes. And as soon as you close your eyes, all of a sudden, you've switched off all those visual stimulations. And then you can be back with your thoughts, and just switching off just closing your eyes gives you a break. So we all have control, and that's the easiest control that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And in your TEDx talk, you explored whether we are losing our human identity to technology. So, do you think we can ever truly balance it, or is it more about boundaries?
It very much is about boundaries. And it's actually, the boundaries are going to help you create the balance. Simplification works. So if you imagine going back 10 years or so, before COVID certainly, people used to travel to work. So they used to be in their homes, they used to have a journey, they used to get to the office. At the end of the day, they used to leave their office and have another journey. So those are physical boundaries. But a lot of people today work from home. So all of those boundaries have suddenly merged, where they're neither at work or at home, everything is mixed up. So creating boundaries and creating environments where you do certain activities simplify things. So that's very, very important to make a difference. Our identity is coming under attack from artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is able to do some of the thinking for us. So I promote digital detox, which means that you go into an offline environment, whether that's as short as 20 seconds or whether it's 10 to 15 minute breaks, or whether that's a week in nature. So it's physically going offline. But an AI detox, something that protects our thinking and our skills, knowledge and skills, is something you have to do online, and that's much more difficult. So rather than be totally reliant on technology to do certain tasks, we've then got to say, no, we need to be able to write that email. We need to be able to understand that paper. We need to be able to ask those questions. We can't just say, hey, ChatGPT, write me this email, read this article for me. What questions should I ask? Give me a summary. Because all of those skills will be outsourced, and we won't be able to do it ourselves. So we're under attack from AI, taking away our knowledge and skills. And who are we? For many people, we're the things that we can do at work. We're the things that we know. We might be able to play a musical instrument, so we're a musician. We might be able to do lots of other things, but those things rely on skills. But if you outsource all your skills, then effectively you don't have all those inside of you. So as humans now, we need to think about, well, okay, what is it that I really want to be able to do? What's it I really want to be able to know? How can I make sure that I'm still interesting and useful? Not for this job, maybe not for the next job, but the one that comes after that. Because every job that we do, more and more of that work becomes automated. So just concentrating on what I call transactional work, we may have to do in the short term, but in the long term, we need those extra creative skills, those problem-solving skills, certainly critical thinking, because AI is going to have lots of mistakes and errors in, and very difficult to tell where. And also we interface with this amazing real world. And it's really chaotic. Whereas the AI looks at history, it's trained, it lives in a wonderfully air-conditioned, cooled data center. It can't even make its own cup of tea. But we have to do all of those things. And we have to create the next lot of AI that's better than this one. We have to create the next technology that's better than this one. So we have to really be so much more creative and think about, all of those great things that humans can do. And we have to do it together because humans are social. So if we can do these things together, then that's much more exciting and much more beneficial in the long term.
Yeah, 100%. And what's one digital boundary you personally never compromise on?
I don't have my smartphone anywhere near my bed. And the reason's quite simple. There's a lovely expression called the mere presence. The mere presence of a smartphone exerts a cognitive load on our brains. But we don't realize it because it's the unconscious part of the brain. So even though you're asleep, your smartphone is by your bed, it's going to have some influence. So actually, I have my phone downstairs to charge. So I wouldn't compromise that at all. I have a different alarm clock, so I don't have to rely on my phone. And I protect my sleep because with sleep, that's the biggest single thing that helps our creativity and helps our performance.
Yeah, and that makes so much sense. Like, so basically, why I like that is because balance sounds gentle, but boundaries give balance its backbone.
Yes. So what I'm suggesting here is willpower is not enough. We can't all go out tomorrow and say, I've loved listening to Anya and Colin on this podcast, and I'm going to sort out my balance tomorrow. So willpower is just doesn't work like that. We need help because our environment triggers our actions. Quite often we reach for our smartphones and we don't realize we've done it. And then we try and justify why we've done it afterwards, but we've automatically done that on our autopilot. So environments are a really great help for us. So physically moving to an environment that doesn't have all of those triggers really helps us. Having very simple rules like, I'm not going to use my smartphone when I'm having a meal with my family or when I'm out with my friends in a restaurant or a cafe. Having simple rules and then sticking to them for this 66 days on average, then you don't have to think about them anymore. So you build up lots and lots of simple rules to simplify the way that you balance. Now, we all have to work very long hours sometimes, and there's nothing we can do about that. But we can then step back and say, okay, I've done that. I've achieved that piece of work. Now things are back to normal. I can go back to my routine. Routines and rituals are really important. If you see athletes, particularly the sprint athletes on the starting line, each one of them will go through their pre-race ritual, which enables them to be calm, enables them to be at their best. So having simple rituals, whether it's a procedure where you have your phone, you take it to its charging position at night, then you pick up a book. So rituals and habits are our friends. And our best friend is a notebook, because we're always worried about forgetting things. So if we carry a small notebook, we just write it down. And then we can pick it up in the morning, or we can pick it up at a later date. So a small notebook is our best friend as well.
Yes, totally. And many fear that disconnecting means losing productivity or missing out. How do you reframe that fear into empowerment?
So if you're connected all the time, then you may be virtually connected, but you're not really fully present. And if you're not fully present, then you're missing out. So it's counterintuitive. If you're multitasking when you're with your friends, you're being distracted by your phone, then you're not really present with your friends. So you're missing out on the richness of being with your friends because you've sacrificed it by being on your phone. So the missing out idea, if you're missing out something that's happening on your phone, it's counterintuitive, but actually you're missing out on so much more by being distracted by your phone. You're missing out on being at your best. And if you are on your phone, and we all need to be on phone, and some of the entertainment on smartphone apps is wonderful, then I'm not saying disconnect from all of those things. I'm just saying have a boundary. Maybe you love to watch cute cat videos. And you get fun and you laugh, and that's a really great thing. Well, watch cute cat videos with your friends. But don't watch it all day. Don't watch it by yourself and sitting hunched up. No, democratize it. Go with your friends and say, hey, let's share the best cute cat videos, and then let's have a laugh together. So make it a social, real world experience rather than just online. So you miss out because you're not fully present. And so you don't miss out because you're not online. You miss out because you're not fully present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's liberating. Turning FOMO into the joy of missing out and rediscovering presence. So, what a refreshing conversation with Colin Corby, reminding us that technology should serve us, not enslave us. If this episode resonated, try a small detox of your own tonight. Log off, look up, and reconnect with the world beyond the screen. Because sometimes clarity begins when Wi Fi ends. Stay tuned for more mind expanding talks on Mind Over Matter.